English translation 54th contact. Tuesday, 8th of June, 1976, 0127 HERs.
You have shown a very remarkable patience last night.
When we are observing UFOs, we always have to.
There were two strange vibrations, and one that I had already analyzed the night before.
Indeed, there were two friends from Germany.
One of whom had his expectations set far too high. He should be more moderate, because we cannot act according to his wishes. I have analyzed that he is very concerned about our cause, but that does not entitle him to great expectations. But maybe I will think about it and give a little demonstration if he wants to get his money's worth. It is not supposed to be a promise.
Thank you, Simya-se. Mr. Witzer will be pleased for sure.
I have not promised anything. He should bear in mind that everything amounts to a pure privilege if I should try to make a small demonstration.
It is okay, I get it. I did not come here to talk to you about such matters. Because I have a lot of questions, if you allow me.
Sure, just ask.
Okay. I'm supposed to ask you what Askets people actually call our universe.
Senan Universum translates from their language. We call it Dern Universe, as you know.
Aha. Then the second question, it concerns the eavesdroppers of your race. They are completely ent.
You speak in riddles. What do you mean by eavesdropper?
These are your hearing organs, girl, your ears. In Asket's picture, it was found that she has much longer earlobes, which have also grown much further forward than is the case with us earthworms. What is the reason for this?
I understand. It is a purely anatomical difference.
Does it not have any connection with higher intelligence, etc.?
No, but why are you asking this illogical question, which does not stem from your manner of thinking?
It is not. It comes from somewhere else.
That is what I thought.
Well, you know, on Earth there are certain assertions that one can determine the intelligence, or also the character traits of a life form by the size of the ears.
This is ridiculous. According to this stupid theory, terrestrial animals should be much more intelligent than terrestrial humans themselves. Think only once of your animal forms, which you call donkeys, horses, and elephants.
That is plausible. So the meaning of the speech is simply that it is a pure race characteristic, a pure anatomical difference without any intelligence evaluation meaning.
Certainly.
Well, by the way, I am supposed to send you a nice greeting from Hans Schutzbach, who is also one of the earlobe questioners.
But even from him, the question concerning intelligence cannot be, because this would be contrary to his state of consciousness. Thank him for his greetings, which you shall return. I am very happy about that.
Thanks, I shall tell him. But you are right. The question about intelligence comes from a stranger, from a woman whose name I do not know. But tell me, do you all have blue eyes?
Our eye colors are as diverse as they are on the earth.
But yours are a pretty nice blue. They are a really enjoyable sight.
You love to compliment? Thank you. This is my natural eye color, but we women also like to color our eyes.
Oh, just as crazy as the women in our world, who also believe that this is beautiful. But every little animal has its own little pleasure.
You do not like it?
Such a terrible piece of face paint? No, I find that disgusting.
Which I am sure you are not wrong about, because it degrades the natural beauty.
That is exactly my point of view. You know, a little discreetly applied rouge or something, I think that is all right. But the pagan, warlike, frightening painting, that really corresponds to the last one. But to the next question, what do you have to tell us about smoking? You know I smoke, like a big guy. Is smoking dangerous or not?
This is an addiction to which many people on the earth are subject to. There are also various dangers involved, especially in the case of people who are already physically damaged, which can make various, often serious illnesses even more apparent. However, it is the physical constitution of each person who consumes this poison that is decisive. In particular, chemically treated and perfumed smoking products are extremely dangerous, while pure natural smoking products carry much lower, but nevertheless high, health-damaging hazardous values. In contrast to this negative effect, your smoking also has a slight positive tendency because it partially moderates a too large intake of food and also promotes the ability to think due to effective substances. Because through very effective alert-producing amines, the consciousness-based potencies are kept in constant high form and thus diminishes fatigue symptoms occurring in this regard. These active substances are very much liked by those people who are obliged to a great consciousness-based work because through them and their effects, they are often able, in addition to their generated will, to perform services which all other people are unable to perform.
So you are saying I do not have to quit smoking?
It can certainly harm your health over time, even if you keep it in moderation, but it is currently of great importance to you with regard to the active substances mentioned, which enable you to achieve high performance. But it may be up to you to decide whether you want to give up smoking or not. As I, however, know, you are currently in moderation and therefore have no serious fears to worry about. If that were not so, I would have drawn your attention to it. But that does not mean that smoking is good for your health and that you should not free yourself of it.
That will do, thank you. I had no reservations so far, but I often found the smoking annoying. Besides, I will give it up when I realize it is giving me a hard time.
You should not get upset about that because you do not bother me with your smoking. If you like it, then you may set your smoking goods on fire at any time also with us.
I have no need for that. Why, I do not know.
This will be the environment and also the somewhat different composition of our atmosphere, which will give you the same invigorating active substances, but unlike the tobacco-burning substances, these are not harmful to health.
That may be true, but you must know better than that. But now I would be interested to know which is your home planet and which sun it belongs to. Can you give me some information about that?
Sure, it is no secret. We call my homeworld on our Pleiades era, and it belongs to the solar system Teget, along with 9 other worlds.
Can you see that from Earth with good telescopes or something?
This should hardly be possible because too many factors affect the visual values of such terrestrial apparatus and devices. These are also only of decisive value for the spatial structure itself, but for values beyond that they are absolutely unsuitable and also very faulty.
Aha, so another one on the head for our dear astronomers. But how long have you been stationed on the Earth, and how long has the station been in Switzerland?
I have been entrusted with tasks on the Earth for 72 years. But my fixed time is only 4 Earth years. Our station in this country was built just over 300 years ago.
May I ask where the other 2 are?
I am not allowed to give any official information about this, which, by the way, leads me to an answer to your recent request when you asked me for a food I promised you. Unfortunately, I must correct myself in this respect. Because of this wish, I first had to consult Quetzal, who, however, had to refuse my request. I am very sorry that I have to disappoint you, and that I promised you something before I discussed it with Quetzal.
Do not worry about it, because it is not a problem anymore. Would you rather tell me how many other alien races are actually still stationed on the Earth?
There are 7 more of them.
Do you have all the stations here, and are you in contact with them?
Certainly they all have stations on Earth, as well as we all have connections and collaborations with them, because they all belong to our Federation's realm. Thus I'm just talking about our people.
Are the Giza intelligences included in these 7 races?
They are not.
Fine, then tell me one thing more. How is it with the animal spirit forms? Are these classified as part of a spiritual evolution?
Of course, but their form is limited to a certain order of pure natural evolution, the so-called instinct evolution.
Does this mean that they are not dealing with a spiritual evolution in the usual sense, as is the case with humans?
That is true because their evolution of spirit does not serve the absolute relative fulfillment of the spirit, but only the evolution of nature in its given order.
In other words, does this mean that the animal forms develop in a spiritual form in a certain minimal value, but are not classified as an actual evolution of the absolute relative fulfillment, but only as a development of the natural spirit, which can perhaps be described as instinct intelligence or the like?
This representation is roughly correct.
Well, then I am on the right track. Please do not explain anything else about it, because I want to think for myself first.
Sure, that is a good thing. You are on the right path.
That is what I think too. In the end, I have to do something myself. But may you explain to me how your communication works over great distances? I mean, what technological form do you use?
I can explain a few things to you, but it is not too much. Our one technical communication possibility you would call radio, but with the possibility of no delay in transmission. Also, the transmission does not take place through the normal space, but in use of the hyperspace, through which we pass our signals, disassembled, with faster-than-light particles, which spread over the whole hyperspace in fractions of -seconds due to their million-fold speed of light, and thus form again at the same moment at the target.
What you are explaining to me is a mystery, because I do not know anything about these things. However, I have probably understood a few things. For example, the disassembling of the signals. Could it be a distortion taking place in some distortion device?
No, the disassembling is a universal expansion of the signals and impulses in relation to the speed, with just the signals and impulses charged faster than light particles, which you call tachyons.
Now I am completely finished with my Latin. You are telling me a riddle with 7 seals. Let us not do that, because it is going nowhere. I would have another question, however, concerning gravity. Is the electromagnetic nature one or two pole, or does it happen through the mediation of gravitons?
That is a question I cannot just answer for you. I have to discuss this with the others first.
Can you at least answer my question roughly for the time being?
As far as I can account for it, certainly, gravity is electromagnetic in nature with two uniform but opposite forces. Gravity is therefore both attractive and repulsive. But this is connected with the mass itself, with the Earth, thus by the planet, whereby the mass exerts the coherent, however the second factor itself, namely the production and application of what you call gravitons.
The term graviton does not come from me. But it seems to me now that you explain that these gravitons and electromagnetism are present at the same time and would act as attraction and repulsion?
Sure, that is all I am allowed to tell you officially until I have consulted with the others.
It is all right. I do not want to rush you. But can you still tell me how gravity is created? I mean, gravitons and electromagnetism?
I really need to discuss this with the others first.
I mean only in broad terms, like for example by warmth and cold.
Once again, you seem to know more than you are admitting. But good. On the one hand, the causes can also be found quite correctly in the heat and cold, in the self-heating of the planet, and in the cold of the space. On the other hand, the solid core of the planet in its density as well as the atmosphere, etc., are also important factors in the formation of gravity and anti-gravity. That is all I am allowed to explain to you for the time being. Whether I may make more statements about this later, that will be seen.
I am also satisfied with this answer for the time being. Now I have a very special wish from the group, if you can fulfill it for us.
Sure, I would love to.
Well, thank you very much. You know, we would like to know some things about determining the level of the consciousness-based development of any person. We also call it evaluation of the level of consciousness. We also want to know what level a person named Ebner has. But we want you to give us the answer purely internally, only for our group.
It is a great pleasure to be of service to you. I am also happy to meet your wishes as long as everything is intended for the inner group. But it will not be easy for you to understand everything according merely to my explanations. I would have to teach you.
Then I will just have to take the time.
In 6 to 7 hours, I could teach you the evaluation work.
I would be very grateful to you for that. Now, can you give me the rating of the person mentioned?
I need more detailed information.
I do not have it. Can you not let Ketzel get it for you? The man lives in the Rhine Valley. Ketzel knows him.
Just wait a minute.
Sim Ya Se deals with a device and then obviously talks to Ketzel in her mother tongue, which I unfortunately do not understand.
Ketzel will endeavor to find the person with his area analyzer and will also carry out the evaluation immediately. We should be expecting his result in about 20 minutes.
Fine. Then we can stretch our feet a little until then. Will you come with me?
Sure, it will just be very dark here in the clearing. The trees standing all around, you know?
That might not matter, or are you afraid?
Why should I be? I feel very safe with you.
Thanks for the compliment, so let us go out.
A few minutes later in the open air, where we walk back and forth on a small road.
You said you called your home planet Era. How many human beings live there?
500 million. Approximately.
Fine, you will not have mass pileups because of overpopulation. But now, in connection with this question, I would be interested to know how many planets are inhabited in the Taygete system. You were talking about your home planet and 9 more.
Sure, in addition to my homeworld, there are 3 other planets that are habitable and inhabited. All others are already subject to die-off or are only beginning to form.
That is logical. The planets of a system are usually of different ages. Our planets Saturn and Jupiter are developing into solid planetary bodies, while others like Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune are already solid structures. Askett once told me that the difference in times can be practically unlimited. But speaking of which, someone actually wrote a book recently that the Uranians were testing, or would have tested the peoples of Earth. What do you say to that?
You know that in the Sol system, only Earth is habitable and inhabited by humans.
Of course, I know that this book is based on fraud.
Then we do not have to talk about it.
Okay, it was just a question. But something else, you know we do astrology on Earth, right?
Of course, it is a science that can be traced back to our ancestors and which we still cultivate today. With you, however, it has lost most of its actual values and truths.
I am aware of that. But how does astrology work for you?
In the same forms as on Earth, of course, but with different planets and different overall perspectives.
Unfortunately, I do not know too much about these things. But what about your birthday? If you convert it to our time, when were you born?
To answer that question, I need to explain some important facts. For example, when I talk about Taygete or Alcyon, I am always referring to the whole system, not the sun or a planet itself. So I am from Taygete, that is from the system Taygete, but born on the planet Era. This, my homeworld, is very similar to the Earth in all things, which is why it was chosen by our ancestors as a new homeworld at the earliest times, after they had left the Earth. Thus, all data of the planet corresponds approximately to those of Earth, with only small differences. The orbit around the Sun is 365.14 days according to earthly time calculation, while 1 day according to your time is 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 14 seconds. This results in almost exactly the same orbit and time of day as Earth has. In contrast, other planets show differences, like also in the Sol system or at all other systems in the universe in general. All our time units are named differently with us than with you, but with only small differences they coincide with the earthly time units. So an ODUR is equivalent to a few fractions of a second of your hour, and even a musel corresponds pretty much to an earthly day. Our year we have divided into 13 ASR, which means 13 months, with a compensation period of 23 years. So you can see that we are only slightly different from your calculations. Our 13 months can be divided also into your 12 months by the conversion, after which I would be born then according to your question after earthly calculation on the 7th of February.
So you would be an Aquarius too, according to our astrological data. That is almost crazy. It is just Aquarians everywhere.
You are not wrong, for according to our calculations, the day of my birth would fall into the sign of Aquarius. These constellations have been known on Earth since ancient times by our common ancestors, and the same images have also been passed down to us. Seen from our Pleiades, however, their positions are very shifted, and so, seen for us, they result in a different arrangement and a different picture. Our astrology, however, is naturally based on different constellations and values in our space structure than is the case on the Earth.
That is understandable, even if it will not be obvious to certain know-it-alls of Earth astrologers and so forth. But now another question again. Is it possible that you are demonstrating something today?
I told you I would think about it. But it will be that I will set myself down invisibly, for as I noticed, you have equipped yourselves with film cameras which you have put on standby in the wide field below. But you know that you can only take pictures if I let you. It is not my decision alone, it is mainly Quetzal's responsibility. But it will be a matter of concern to me to consult with Quetzal regarding further recordings, although he has advised me to let it be enough with the material available so far.
Of course, Simyase, we are also satisfied with all the films and slides. But we do not have a single picture of the energy-burning phenomena that you can carry out. The only reason we took our photo and film cameras with us was because we wanted to capture them on film. So I would be very grateful if you could actually talk to Quetzal about it.
Sure, I will do my best. I also understand your concern.
Many thanks. You know, I myself have never been able to observe these phenomena before. So would it not be possible that I can see everything one time? Often I'm asked about it, and I can never give information.
That is a very logical explanation. Sure, I will know how to set it up so that you will have the opportunity to observe, in a few days perhaps already, at the weekend. I am sure Quetzal will find that very understandable.
Please give him my regards and my best thanks.
I will be happy to do that, but now, come on, we have got to get back to my ship. I think Quetzal will be back soon with his analysis. Be a little careful when walking on the grass and step into my prints. We must not leave too many clues.
Of course, but this grass has really grown very tall.
Unfortunately, people will see the landing support imprints. That is not good. I cannot just eliminate the whole meadow to cover the tracks. But I will find a solution.
Simyase's solution was to order the farmer through an impulsive telepathic urge to get up immediately and mow his meadow. A few weeks later, Billy spoke with the farmer and told him that he heard that the farmer had mowed his meadow at 3 HURs in the morning. The man confirmed this and explained that he had immediately awakened from a dream with the unconditional urge to mow his meadow. The urge was so strong that he immediately got up to do the work he had dreamed of, although he still did not really understand why he had done it.
Your caution is legendary, but I think it will be better this way.
Sure, people have become too attentive to us in this area. In the meantime, we have returned to the ship. Now be patient, I want to see what Quetzal has come up with. Simyase again deals with her apparatuses and devices, but it only takes a few minutes while she talks to Quetzal. Quetzal has analyzed the concerns of your wish and...
Please do not mention a name. Just say person or something.
Sure, he found the person and worked out a quite fruitful result. But I have to give you an introductory short explanation first. Our assessments of the level of consciousness of a life form, which we can carry out, are based on a total grade classification of 700 individual values, which are to be divided into 7 periods of 100 individual values each. The highest value of 700, in our spiral degree evaluation, embodies the relatively absolute or the relatively perfect, which can be equated with becoming one with creation. These values are now called after our mathematical terms, but they are already converted into your mathematical terms, giving you a rough clue. Now you have to keep the number 700 as a relative absolute value, but divide it among 7, which gives you 7x 100. Now you have to divide the nominal value 100 again into 7x 7, which according to your mathematics results in 49. This number is responsible and valuable for the individual sub-values or sub-periods that give you the very exact value of the consciousness calculation or its level. The remaining 51 values embody the values of the power of consciousness, so this is also calculable. So the first calculation leads to a maximum of 357 values and the second to 343, whereby the two values added together then express the respective present relative absolute level of consciousness in numerical values. Can you understand that?
I have understood. Only one thing is not clear to me. Can this spiral-shaped calculation also be applied retroactively?
You think illogically.
I do not. My question is based on an assertion by the person concerned. I myself am fully aware that this is not possible, because no spirit reversal formation can take place in any form of plane, but everything is subordinated or classified to a continuous evolution.
I understand, so the question is not yours. It would have been really illogical. No, a retrograde application is not possible, because if a life form has worked out a spiritual level of consciousness, then this remains its own because it is not about the material intellectual power of consciousness, but about the spiritual intellectual level of consciousness.
That is also clear to me, but please tell me, what is the rating of the person who Quetzal analyzed?
The analysis shows that the person in question is an Earth human who has placed their self into a very arrogant delusion, whereby this person sits above all other people who are not sympathetic to her. Unfortunately, there are many of them, because through their imagination, they feel set very high above all others, and they do not have any knowledge concerning an evaluation of the levels of consciousness. Their ability with regard to these things is only alleged and produced by an arrogant delusion. The values of their level of consciousness are very exactly 86, while all in your group exceed these values partly by many degrees, as I once calculated myself. I also take the liberty of doing this often, so I can explain with certainty that nobody in your group is below this value, because the minimum value is 98. I am explaining this to you because I have just caught your strong and very moving thoughts, which also reveal to me the true reason for your question. It is probably not only the form of a joker, but the action of a selfish and self-enhancing person who feels placed above all others and chooses higher values for herself. I feel in you the pain that you feel, so I explain these matters to you. Please do not be worried, because each member of your group is evaluated at a higher level of consciousness than the person you mentioned. Even the lowest evaluation is still based 12 degrees higher than that of this selfish and self-enhancing misguided life form.
We were thinking something similar ourselves. Should I draw her attention to her mistake in this regard?
This would probably be very wrong because she has worked herself up in her imagination to such an extent that every logical explanation of her wrongdoing would be incomprehensible to her, and she would begin to work harmfully against you. So there would be no point in it, for if you were to teach her, it would remain a fruitless effort.
Then I will not, too bad. It is all pretty interesting, though, and I am eager to learn these calculations. When will that be possible?
When the time suits you. However, it should be mentioned that, in general, such assessments are very difficult for people to process because they constantly overestimate themselves. A low evaluation that does not appeal to him or her will therefore always be very embarrassing for them and make them rebellious. You should therefore not disclose the calculation mathematics and its side facts and not spread them. However, you can calculate the levels of consciousness of any person and also communicate the values to them, but you should not name the formula of the calculation and its connections. Also, be very careful that you name the calculated values only to those persons whom you consider capable through your knowledge to bear and process these concerns in their truth.
I will hold to it. Maybe next Sunday we could meet somewhere to do this work?
Sure, if that is what you want.
I will know how to establish it.
But first, create enough rest through sleep, because it is a very hard work. What you have to learn in 7 hours usually takes 3 to 4 weeks. So you should be rested and well physically recovered, not like now, since you look like an old man and have certainly only slept a few hours for several days. Please be more worried about yourself and do not do such a depletion with your powers and with your body.
You are good. I feel relatively brilliant, but on the other hand, who does my work? I cannot just put people in their place and send them away either. After all, I do not only have to deal with the masses, but also with the individual, because every person is an individual personality, and you have to dedicate yourself to him or her in this form.
But that does not mean you have to slowly commit suicide, because you endanger everything.
Oh, come on, you dramatize everything into boundlessness.
I already explained to you once that I use myself to take the things of your time into our own hands when you no longer care for yourself. That is what I am really going to do if you do not want to be sensible. You really look very bad, and tell me, how many hours have you slept in the last 3 days?
Do you want an honest answer or a fib?
You know very well I want to hear a correct answer from you.
All right, if it calms you down, I am sure I got about 7 hours.
I thought something similar. Slowly I have to use logical gay vault, a form of force.
Then I will send you off.
Are you serious?
Now I also say certainly.
You will keep your senses under control, even if I really use logical gay vault, because in fact there is no other recourse. It is already a mystery to me that you are still able to control your vehicle at all, and that you are not aggressive due to your fatigue and rebellious nerves.
My nerves are not rebelling.
You will chastise them in such a way that their function will be impaired and superimposed by your will, as you always do.
Do not bother about it now. It is really not worth talking about. I also promise you that I will lie down on the bed as soon as I have the opportunity.
Your words have already become a concept to me, because I know your possibilities. But I am really going to take care of these issues now.
Then go ahead. Do what you cannot leave alone.
I will, so I want you to go and rest now.
You are kidding, are you not?
I am being earnest. Goodbye, my friend. I will be concerned about you.
Well then, if that is the way you want it, goodbye. Take care.
But now you really need to rest. You need it very much. Goodbye.
The contact about which Guido Moosbrugger writes in his report of 12.6. 1976 was an unofficial meeting of Billy and Simya-se. The questions answered by Simya-se during this contact were included into the next official contact report, the 55th of the 14th of June, 1976. A Modestetter was taken twice to the contact point by Billy. The first time, as reported by Guido Moosbrugger, on the 12th of June, 1976, and the second time on the 14th of June 1976, which is mentioned at the very end of the official 55th contact report.